Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look basically at the meta overview for the upcoming season. We're going to take a look at all of the different kind of changes for PvP. And you always love those videos, and if you still enjoy them, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It would help me out quite a bit. It was a lot of work. I was sitting here now for 1.5 hours trying to put all of the changes in and give you a little bit of a meta overview. There are a lot more videos coming on this channel towards the new season, and honestly, the new season gives us a lot of content that we can do, so there's going to be a lot of list for you for Pokemon that you want to build, that like for top teams and stuff like this coming up, so again, would appreciate the support. Anyway, we're going to see here on the left side what we currently have, on the right side what we're going to have in the next season. It's only going to be here for the move updates, which I kind of have in here, and we will see here, for example, for the fast moves that got changed this season, we're going to have Hex, which got a buff there by getting +1 damage and +1 energy, while Rollout got a nerf with -1 damage here, which gonna put them at the exact same rate of 7 damage and 13 energy, which makes Hex actually a very good move, which we'll see later on as well, and a move that might actually be better than Astonish, which we will see as well a little bit later on. Anyway, this is going to be the fast moves, only 2 got changed, 1 got nerfed, 1 got buffed, and here we have the charge moves now. And here we have a little bit more of a different thing. For a few of them, we don't really know what is happening. I did actually make a mistake there with Air Cutter and put 43 in there, but we are not going to take a look at Air Cutter today anyway, because it is too vague on which Pokemon actually going to get benefit from this one, because we don't know the stats at all. We just know it's 45 damage, and we know that it gotta get a buff chance basically to itself. We have no idea where it's going to end up. It's very likely it's going to be a garbage move, so I'm not going to talk about it in today's video. You see here already on the left side on how it currently is. It has to be 35 energy basically to be solid. 45 damage would be of course ideal here, what it's supposed to be. But let's go through the moves. For acrobatics, it only said that it's gonna get a decrease of energy you need here, so I would just go for -5. I don't think it's going to be anything other than 55 for this one, but again, we only always know the damage for moves, or if it's a guaranteed buff, then we're going to know that as well. So this is going to be this one. We're going to have Aqua Jet, where we know that's going to be 70 damage plus energy decrease, which means here we're going to go from 45-45 to 70-40, which makes it a really, really good move. And we're going to have a few moves that are very similar to this one. We're going to have 3 moves now in total that have 70 damage and 40 energy. For example, I think Surf had 40 energy and 65 damage and got nerfed because it was too overpowered. So we now have even a better water type move here, but of course with less good Pokemon basically knowing this move. But yeah, we're going to have next up Dazzling Gleam. We know it's going to be 90 damage, but we don't know the energy. I feel like 50 would be making a lot of sense here. If it's 45, this move going to be absolutely strong, like really overpowered, like kind of like, of course, Dynamic Punch here, which is here a little bit lower on, where we kind of know what's going to be happening. Because, for Dynamic Punch, we know that the energy is going to get decreased. There's no way it's going to be a 90 damage move with 40 energy, so it's going to be 45, making it a clone of Avalanche or Psyshock, which is a really, really good move. And this is going to buff Pokemon like Medicham by quite a lot, which you're going to see in today's video here. Discharge is going to get a nerf in terms of damage, so I would think that the energy is gonna go down to 35 to make it a cross-chop clone. If it's 40, this move is kinda garbage, like literally garbage, that you wouldn't want to use it unless you have to, for example for like Pokemon like Emolga, which you're gonna take a look at today as well. We have Foul Play, where we know that the energy is gonna get decreased. I don't think it's gonna be 35 because it would make it too overpowered, so it's gonna be 40 or 60. Gonna have small changes, but mostly it doesn't really change too much in terms of the Pokemon that use it. You have Nightshade, which is gonna be getting -10 damage, which makes Corsola a little bit worse, which is good. You have Psyshock, which is going to be a 70 damage move now for 40 energy, which is going to be crazy for some Pokemon. We have Rock Tomb, being a solid move. We don't know the energy yet. It has currently 60. I went down to 55. It got a buff in terms of damage, and here from 70 to 80, so I would assume that 55 is kind of where it's going to be at. Going to be interesting. Sludge, 70 damage, 40 energy. Actually going to be a great move for a few Pokemon, which you're going to see later as well. Sludge Bomb is not in here, and Sludge Wave is not in here, but I cannot change it that Sludge doesn't come up, because like I can't just, like if I do full stop Sludge, which I did here for example, the other ones which Sludge in the name just come up and I cannot change it. So like, yeah, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave are the same as last season. Don't care about this one, ignore this please. So moving on. We're going to have first here Pokemon that have like certain themes of buffs. Well, for example, here for the first one, it's going to be every Pokemon that has access to Psyshock. we're going to have here one new addition to it, which is going to be Togetic. And also Togetic got buffed with Dazzling Gleam. You saw the the stats basically before already on what I'm going to go by for today's video. Ninetales is going to be in another section of the video again as well here, because of course the Dazzling Gleam going to get its own section. But here we're going to go for the Charm, Weather Ball Ice, Psyshock moveset, where Psyshock of course going to be now cheaper, which is going to be absolutely amazing for this Pokemon. Hypno is going to be one of the main Pokemon because it's going to have the stab move. But I also find Armor Rouge actually quite interesting, which is now available for everyone for the Open Great League, because you're going to be able to get it through the research encounter basically, which is going to be great there as well. And here we're going to see that Psyshock now only needs 2 Incinerates, which is going to be super fast, which is going to be really cool for this Pokemon. I can't wait to try this one out. We're going to have next up Mew, which may be going to get a bit of a benefit from here now, dropping down the Surf for the Psyshock, which is the stab move, which is going to be very cool for this Pokemon, and Wild Charge is still the best move to have as coverage. And we're going to have here the normal Ninetales, which is going to have Fire Spin, Weather Ball, and Psyshock, giving it a very fast coverage, and with I think 4 Fire Spins you can go for the Psyshock already, which is kind of cool. And so let's see on how this is going to go against the current meta. As you will see here, none of them going to be overpowered, but Togetic looks really good, but of course it's based down to Dazzling Gleam getting the buff that we saw there before, but also the meta is going to shift, and I think that a lot of those Pokemon are going to be a bit better in the next season, because I feel like the next season going to benefit a lot of times Fighting type Pokemons, which you're going to take a look at later on as well. But yeah, I do think that a lot of those changes are really cool here. Hypno definitely going to be interesting. I feel like Mew is going to be interesting, and Togetic going to be very strong. And maybe a different low Ninetales moveset with Powder Snow, which you can actually take a look here real quick as well. That does only take a few seconds to change. Might actually help it out a little bit more with the Psyshock, as you can see here, but maybe a little bit better. But again, the meta is going to change anyway. Next up, Dazzling Gleam change. We're going to have Clefable here, we're going to have the Ninetales with Dazzling Gleam and the Weather Ball. We have Jumpluff, which also got buffed with Acrobatics, which you're going to take a look at Aerial Ace Acrobatics afterwards as well. We have the Sableye. Getting access to Dazzling Gleam going to be very interesting for this Pokemon, because it's going to be able to now counter the Dark-type Pokemon, which usually would be a little bit of a tricky one for this one. And we're going to have Raybombi, which we're going to have 2 times in today's video as well, because it got also access to the move Charm, which I don't think is great, but we're going to take a look at it later. And Blossom, which people completely underestimate, which you will see right now. As you will see here right now, Blossom on the right side. Look at what it beats. Absolutely amazing. This Pokemon is going to be crazy, because you have the one of the best charge moves in the game, which is going to be Leaf Blade. 70 damage with 35 energy is ridiculous, and then the Dazzling Gleam coverage now is going to be absolutely insane for this Pokemon. I love that for it. Sableye looks like it's completely back, which also Sableye got buffed with Foul Play, now needing only 5 fast moves, 5 Shadow Claws. So like Sableye is going to be so much better next season. It's going to be season of Shadow Sableye, trust me with that one. This Pokemon is going to be insane. Jumpluff looks good, the Ninetales look good, Clefable looks very solid. Not too sure if Clefable is going to look worse with the what's called Moonblast, and I want to see also here Jumpluff real quick without the Dazzling Gleam and with the Aerial Ace, just to see on how this is going to be for the Acrobatics change. And as you can see here, Aerial Ace, Acrobatics, Jumpluff going to be absolutely insane, but I feel like Clefable would benefit from the change to Dazzling Gleam. Next up, we're going to have here all the Pokemon with Aqua Jet, and because they're not that many, we can actually take a look at 3 ones here and see on how they change here compared to the old moveset for Duro and Golisopod, and for Wartortle, if it's Shadow or the normal one is better. Wartortle is not a meme. Check this out. Absolutely insanity. We see here for Wartortle being able to basically beat most of the current meta, being an absolute meta Pokemon. For Dugong, it's actually better to have the Water type move instead of Drill Run apparently, even though of course it doesn't have the better coverage. It's going to be the Stab move that's going to be cheaper to get to, and you're going to be able to also get there, I think maybe after just 4 fast moves, I'm not too sure. I think A-Search actually generates 9 energy, I think it's not after 4. But yeah, cheapest move for Dugong, and actually gives it a little bit of a buff, which Dugong definitely did not need. Definitely not. But yeah, Golisopod kind of seems the same, and Wartortle looks like an absolute amazing meta breaker with that move. Moving on to the Dynamic Punch update. And here's the thing where I think Medicham is going to be the biggest benefiter from it. Psycho Cut, Dynamic Punch. Needs only 5 Psycho Cuts to get to this hard-hitting move on this bulky Pokemon. With Ice Punch being buffed recently, I think this Pokemon is going to be insane. I didn't actually take a look at it yet. I just put them in. and I calculated them at least already, but I didn't take a look at it, and look how overpowered Medicham looks like. This Pokemon is so bad. Literally, look at how strong Medicham is. Ridiculous. But also, look at how strong Grumpig is. And if this video is a bit too confusing for you and a little bit too long, maybe to just like wind down there, there's going to be mostly 3 videos, I think, this season for like top 10 Pokemon that you want to like build for the next season. And trust me, like there are so many good additions here. Toxicroak sadly doesn't really lead into it. Even Ledian looks very solid here. But Golurk also got a buff. This next season is going to be insane. Trust me, this next season is going to be insane, but it's going to be season of Medicham and Sableye again. So we're going to have Sludge next. Sludge going to be on Swalot, which sadly got nerfed with Mud Shot before. We're going to have the Weezing here, which is going to have Fairy Wind, Sludge, and Overheat, which might be an interesting change there as well. And we're going to have the Swampert. Swampert is going to have now 2 moves that have 40 energy, 1 Psycho Cannon, which is always going to be good in neutral scenarios. But Sludge is going to give it great coverage against Fairy-type Pokemon, which is going to help out against the Azumarill matchup, mainly. Grimer here also has access to Sludge. Doesn't really make too much sense here, I guess, because of the pacing not being that great. But, I don't know, maybe even Sludge Return might be kind of cool instead of Mud Bomb here. But as we will see here, yeah, Weezing looks cool with it, but also Swampert looks really, really solid. And now, as you can see here as well, the matchup against Azumarill is going to be a win here for this Pokemon. Swalot, not so great. Grimer, very solid as well still. Like, this Pokemon definitely has some potential. And we can move on to the next buff, which is going to be Hex. So, is Hex now better than Astonish? Why not test it out here real quick? Let's go for maybe the Dusknoir with Astonish, because Dusknoir got buffed 2 times, and so we can see real quick as a comparison what one is better. Is Astonish better, or is Dynamic Punch with Hex better? Let's find out here. Not next to each other, but still gonna be better. We see here for the Dusknoir, you win with the Hex again, the Astonish against the Corsola. You lose against Diggersby because of the energy generation. It is quite similar. It's quite similar. In some cases, I think Astonish is still better. I think Dusknoir is one of the cases where Astonish is better. But if you take a look, for example, at Drifblim, you're gonna see here quite fast that this Pokemon is going to be a bit worse if you have the Astonish currently, because you're going to have basically the same matchups here, but you lose the matchup against Corsola. So again, Astonish is kind of on the same kind of wave as the Hex. I don't think there is a clear winner for this one. Of course, Hex is going to be better for energy generation, and the Astonish is going to be better for just damage output. What we're going to have here, for example, Frostless, the Jellicent, and the Castform. And especially Castform I like quite a bit because it has so much coverage, it's not the greatest. But Jellicent is back as well, and you see like a lot of old meta Pokemon are all of a sudden back. Frostless looks like actually a really good Pokemon, where to the point where I want to see if Frostless is going to be even better than the Powder Snow variant. Powder Snow is of course better in terms of damage output plus just the pacing. But yeah, it has just different matchups. And yeah, it's just a little bit different. It's just a little bit different. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just a bit different. And so like there's going to be an interesting change. So basically Hex is now viable again. Like this is going to be just making it a very solid fast move while not being overpowered, which is kind of where it's supposed to be, right? Rock Tomb. And I made a mistake here because I didn't put one certain Pokemon in here that I should have put in, and it's not Rufflet, even though I kind of want to take a look at it now because I just thought about this Pokemon, which also learns Rock Tomb. Wish that pack got buffed. But there's a other Pokemon which you're going to take a look at later, which looks overpowered. And here we'll see the Rock Tomb users. I think Runorigus would be cool with the Rock Tomb. I don't think that Claydol is the best, but apparently Claydol is better than Runorigus. Nikago is the main Pokemon that benefits, and Bombirdier. And you might think here now, Bombirdier? This Pokemon is kind of the same typing as Galarian Moltres. I shouldn't say Galarian, I just said Moltres. And that's the same coverage. You have Fly, which is going to be kind of the same coverage as Brave Bird, and you have Rock Tomb, which is a better coverage than Ancient Power. So it must be that Bombirdier is going to be better than the Moltres, right? Not really. And here's the thing, sometimes it's going to be better, sometimes it's going to be worse. The thing is, Moltres is going to have the nuke move of Brave Bird, which is kind of cool, which helps you out in certain matchups, while Bombirdier is going to rely on Fly, which is not as strong, but going to be more consistent, Rock Tomb to debuff the opponent, but you don't have the stats that Moltres has. Moltres has better stats, as you can see here, over a rank of 1963, 1770, so Moltres is still better than Bombirdier, but Bombirdier has some play potentially. Corsola got nerfed. Corsola is still very good. Like, don't get me wrong, like, if you have built one now, you're not gonna regret building this Pokemon. But it's gonna be a little bit less common, which I feel like is good, because I think it was a bit too strong, and so I think this is the perfect change for it. Keeping it strong, while not making it too overpowered. Astonish is here, doesn't learn Hex, so that's good for it, and we can move on to the next one. Foul Play. We already had some Pokemon with Foul Play already. Here's some other Pokemon, for example, Malamar, the Amoonguss. Let's go for Mandibuzz. Let's go for Mandibuzz just because I want to see it. This is the normal Mandibuzz. This is now the Foul Play Mandibuzz, which I do think is worse. I do think Foul Play is worse than Mandibuzz because Dark Pulse does make more sense in terms of pacing. As you're gonna see here, Dark Pulse is a little bit better. For Scrafty, Scrafty is back. Scrafty is going to be back because it's going to be fast to get to this one. You can still go for Power Punch now. So basically the counter nerf recently kinda is negated with this change, which is kind of cool. Malamar is going to be very, very strong, and Amoonguss is also going to have a little bit more play. Having a bit of a cheaper move to get to with Astonish is going to be absolutely amazing. Next one, which is the second to last, move-specific change here, which is going to be Discharge. Again, we don't know the exact one. I went for the more interesting one, which is 35 energy. And what we're going to see here is that's going to allow us to have very balanced Pokemon. It's actually not that crazy. Molga got buffed with the acrobatics as well. As you can see, it has some great matchups, but loses a lot of the other ones. This is currently very balanced. As you can see here, Sucker Punch also on Belly Vault is kind of cool. Why is it balanced? Because there are so many good ground-type Pokemon. If you take a look at the Pokemon that you lose here to, it's basically all the ground-types. Or the Dragon-type Pokemon. And so, yeah, it is because of the current meta that this is balanced. It could get unbalanced when the Mudslap gonna get nerfed. But it also makes Mudslap even more important, which maybe is a bit of an issue as well. Making something like Diggers be more, better as well. So maybe 40 energy would be cool, just so Discharge isn't as, needed or, as good. But actually, I feel like 35 would be fine. So, hopefully 35 actually. Because Pokemon like Emolga, kind of more spiced up. Charger Bug is really good though already. So, that's the Pokemon that I fear. But let's move on to the next one. The last one, which is a move specific, which is going to be the Rollout users here. We're going to have Dunsparce, we're going to have Licky, we have Blastoise, we're going to have Weezing, we're going to have Lady, and also the Wailord. And as we will see here right now, Weezing doesn't seem to be that good, needs Sludge kinda. I feel like if they gave it Sludge, I think they maybe thought this Pokemon learns already Sludge. But if they would give it Sludge, I think this Pokemon would be really cool. Let's see on how that's gonna go. Still not the greatest. But Blastoise is absolutely overpowered. And if you wonder, normal Blastoise or Shadow Blastoise, let's take a look here real quick. Blastoise, next to it, Blastoise Shadow with a Rollout. This is going to be very interesting because this is going to show us that both of them are actually really good. And I actually thought it would be way better to have the normal one, but apparently the Shadow variant also has a lot of play here. So both of them are great. And honestly, Blastoise is going to be absolutely amazing next season. There is nothing that stops this Pokemon. It is basically just a better variant now of the Feraligatr, which is hilarious. So, I don't know. This Pokemon is going to be very, very strong. Thanks to Rollout, you have super effective coverage against another Pokemon, which you're going to take a look at in the next slide, I think, which is going to be absolutely meta-breaking. But look at Wailord. What the hell is Wailord doing here? Why is it so good? So, a lot of Pokemon have a lot of play. Let's take a look at Shadow Glady and Shadow Wailord and see if it's going to be better for them. Actually, for Shadow Wailord, I think it is better for it. So, a lot of play here for those Pokemon. Of course, Dunsparce Licky got nerfed, which is fine. But I feel like Blastoise is such a good Pokemon now. I could see even a nerf later on for Blastoise again in 2 seasons or something. But I'm gonna give you already a prediction that Blastoise is going to win one regional championship minimum. Same goes for Lapras. Lapras is kind of it's either if you want to go for Lapras or you want to go for the Blastoise. And here's going to be basically now not really specific to certain move changes because there are not that many. Those are just new move updates where Pokemon got new moves. For example, Piloswine getting the Icicle Spear. Also Mamoswine got it, but I feel like for the Great League it doesn't really make too much sense to take a look at both of them. We have a Venomoth here with Psywave, Poison Fang, as well as a Bug Buzz. We're going to have the Lapras, we have the Ferret, we're going to have the Linoone, and we're going to have the Drampa. Take a look on how good they are. What the hell is a Piloswine doing? What the hell is Lapras doing? Those Pokemon are going to be very strong. Ferret going to be very strong. Linoone going to be very strong. What do they have all in common? A weakness to fighting. And so we kind of go full circle with what I said before, basically. I do think that it's going to be a season of fighting type Pokemon. I do think it's going to be a season of especially Annihilate again. Annihilate is going to be the one Pokemon you kind of want to beat. Luckily, Lapras at least has some super effective fast move coverage, but it's still going to lose against this Pokemon. So, what you are trying to beat here are going to be those fighters, and I do think that Annihilate is going to be the best one that you can run still. Medicham is sneaking up on it though. I feel like Medicham is going to have a lot of players here as well. But yeah, Leper is going to be amazing, Piloswine going to be amazing, all of the normal types going to be amazing. And all of them are kind of struggling against, yeah, the fighting type Pokemon, which is going to be the main thing for the season, I feel like. Next up, we're going to see here for the final slide for today, the last few bits. We're going to have Credilli with Grass Knot as well as Rock Tomb. We're going to have Ribombi. We have the Dragalge. We have the Poison Sting Roserade, which is going to be a very interesting one, which I do think has a lot of play, by the way, what we're going to see it here anyway. Florges with Trailblaze, and the Mightyena. All of a sudden, Mediana has some play, like literally quite a lot of play here. We have Florges even having played in the Open Great League. Imagine how good it's going to be in the Ultra League and Master League. You're going to see content towards that as well on this channel here for sure. We have Roserade having access to Poison Sting, and Credilli, why is it so good? Like, I have no idea why it's so good, but it beats basically everything here. So yeah, this is going to be the content overview real quick for it. I'm going to try to make another tier list either today or tomorrow, and then we're going to move in right into like the top 10 Pokemon that you want to build. But that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Take a look at the announcement that I did this earlier as well for the new season, which I went through everything that you have to know there, new cups and everything. So definitely check that one out. And I will see you then. Bye bye.